All righty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it may be when you all are tuning in to this broadcast. I am your international award-winning author and filmmaker, empowerment specialist, all of that, Neil M. Jackson. I think today is more so the capacity of being APS founder, right? I've been telling you guys, and life has been lifing. My goal when October came in, my goal was to actually be live at least once a week to really pump up the fact that APS is 10, not just this year, but this month we officially turned 10. And it's a big thing. It's a big thing. I am genuinely happy about it. Unfortunately, life has been life, and so I haven't been able to really project how happy I am about it. But I am happy. I would not allow this month to end without an official day of celebration. And I am not here alone to celebrate. For those of you who saw us in the intro, I pay silent respects to. Um, one of our members who we just lost on Sunday, and I will end the show with her picture as well. But today, for this moment, we are celebrating. APS has done a number of things. What we do in a nutshell is we help independents, artists, authors, entrepreneurs, whatever you are, to become educated about what it means to be an entrepreneur, as well as provide platforms for exposure. We've been doing it for a decade. We've done it through the organization itself, which we meet every month for our network meetings. That's our educational piece. We do tours. We have a publishing company. We have a writer society. Most of you all know us through the galas that we've been doing for the last 7 years. But you name it, our mission is really to help. And so today, I am so happy because I have a young lady on here who has become a friend of mine. She is an APS member through and through, and she has a special project that she's working on as well. So she's here in dual capacity. She's here as an APS member, but she's also here as an author. Please help me welcome Miss Deeann Mathews. How are you, Miss Deeann?
Hey, I'm doing well, and how are you today?
Ooh, girl, we here. That's what we gonna say. We are here. We are
Yeah, look, we are here
smiling. We
as
smiling,
my
and
we're
we
doing
here.
good.
So yeah, so I know you, and you know you, but in the case that those who may be watching, whether it's on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or YouTube, and maybe they don't know who you are,
Okay.
why don't you give them just a brief introduction of who you are and how you got to be sitting in that seat that you're sitting in?
Okay. Well, this is the part I always stumble over because I'm not used to talking about myself. I am a maidservant of the Most High God. So just go there. I give
Start
glory to
there.
Him. So if I start out there, we're going to be fine. I'm also
Absolutely.
a five-time author and community servant. And the way I write is generally what I write on the nonfiction side comes out of the service that I'm doing. But two of my last books I basically got done because of Mr. Neil Jackson. Like your right, my left over here. APS member, y'all noticed that I showed up in my trade dress for APS, not knowing that because APS has so much of an impact on my brain, my book's trade dress is the same color.
I love it. I love it. I love
But
it.
community servant, musician, composer, writer, author, all that good stuff. But let's go back to where we started. Maid servant of the Most High God. And that's really my primary identity in Christ. Just doing what he has for me to do. Because Neil, you know, I didn't wake up in the morning and plan to be the APS author, but then I found you when the Spirit opened up the door for me to find you. So
Yes.
being in the right place is a beautiful thing.
It is. It is. There is something about being in alignment. And I talk about that all the time. Like when you know that you are walking in purpose, everything just kind of flows. It begins to flow. Doesn't mean everything is easy, but it flows. And so we just thank God for that. And I thank God for you and your journey. And as right before we go into it, I just want to encourage those who may be watching. If you all have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section. And that way I will be sure to ask Deann any of those questions. But I want to jump right into just a quick little interview because we know what you're here for. But in terms of the journey that you've taken thus far, like what, because you named a lot of different capacities, entrepreneurial capacities in which you serve, author, composer, like what is it for you that you find to be the most gratifying? Like, is it one that you enjoy one over the other, or is it both in different ways?
It's probably both in different ways, and it does change from time period to time period.
Okay.
When I was a young, let's say teens to, uh, let's say teens to about 33, music was the top one. And I did that probably almost to the exclusion of everything else. But a lot of things are driven by the service that I'm in at the time. And at about 27, because I was in the music industry and I noticed a lot of other people, a lot of them who looked like us were getting beat up. I
Mm-hmm.
had written some articles to try to help folk, and the spirit says, that's your first book. Go do that. So
Mm-hmm.
over time, writing has kind of made its way up for me. And I can't say, it's hard to say which one I enjoy most. Music is a very, very deep part of me. They probably developed earlier than the others, but then I remember my father gave me my first journal at 9. So they're actually kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it, to be honest, um, like I said, a lot of it depends on the people that I'm thinking about at the moment. Like my latest world premiere was the children's choir that I have is supposed to be singing a arrangement of the Hallelujah chorus that I did, but we haven't sung like that a lot in the past 3 years because the panorama. That's
Uh-huh.
what I call that.
Right, right. Not pandemic, panorama. I love
So
it.
I said to the Lord, we need to find a warm up that will help us be able to get back up to those high notes that Handel is asking for, because he doesn't generally go to our churches. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I got you. Go in there. I got you. So it depends on what it is that I need to do. I enjoy all of it quite a bit, actually. I can't say at this point at 42 because it does change depending on what is going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I got you. I got you. And so, where were you at in your life when you stumbled upon or stumbled into APS?
I was in one of those moments. I had joined. Well, I'll keep this story short. I'm on the front end of a blockchain called the Hive blockchain, which ties into what we're going to talk about later. And I had responded to an award that they had given me as the writer of the week there in one community. And because they did that, I did some extra content for them, and that accidentally ended up being novel land. So
Wow.
I'm like, well, okay, I'll put that into maybe I'll put that in a book form, but I got so much going on. I don't know if I can do this alone. Well, about
Mm.
that same time, Sir Walter Jones was using APS for his wonderful book, The Four Women That Men Desire. So he was talking about his APS process, and I could see that both of you were spirit filled. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this, because it is a Christian book anyway, let me tip on over here and see what's going on. Because I think Miss Jackson, I think that's the person the Lord wants me to work with. So this is around turn of 2019 into 2020. And I know that because the paperback date, which you encouraged me to put out, was August 8th, 2020. So this had to be about the turn of the year, about that time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it don't say the, as you call it, the panoramic, it just kind of snacks some of our time because it don't
Yeah,
seem like it's been that
does
long.
it?
That's been 3 years. Like
Yeah,
it seems like it's been longer, but it doesn't seem like that long all at the same time, if that makes sense. So it's
it
like,
does.
yeah, yeah. So in either case, you are here now, bona fide author, been doing it for a long time, and you have a new project that you
Mhm.
want to talk to us about. So let us know about it.
Okay, so I just mentioned that I was on the Hive blockchain, that blockchain and cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is like Bitcoin, blockchain is the technology underneath. So that was 2019, 4 years ago. The crypto cycle is every 4 years. So just the same way that I came in a bear market that time and watched the cycle crash and everybody talking about it's never going to come back again. It was all a scam. Around the summer of this year, everybody was saying the same thing. But
Hmm.
then what happened was the Lord dropped a video on me, letting me know people had charted out the previous cycles and gave you the exact day that the bull run should start, the next one, next year. And then the next day, the next video comes out and says, well, based on the fact that every 183 days after the start this happens, this should be the end. Like, Lord. And then there was a younger sister I was talking to at church, which who would ask me some questions about Bitcoin. So all these things happened on one weekend. I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? You given me the start day and the end day. This is July 30th and 31st of this year. And he's like, write your fifth book and inform the people.
Wow.
And that's how seizing the crypto bull run for financial freedom actually happened. I was not, if we had talked, Ms. Jackson, you had said to me, you probably have enough material for a new book. I probably would have laughed at you because life is life and hard this year. I'm like, where? I don't have enough energy to do this. I'm trying to recover from a whole bunch of foolery that happened in the spring. I've been crying every other day. What you mean? I don't have anything for the people.
Listen.
That would have been July 28th. And then I'd be like,
Mhm.
Tennille, I'm sorry I laughed at you because you saw it before I did. It would have gone down like that.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Wow. Doesn't doesn't it make you laugh sometimes how God can figure out what's in us when we think that we have nothing there? Like you think
Yes.
that, okay, I'm to capacity and somehow he'll crush things down. You know, I think about when my grandfather was alive, right? And this is a crazy analogy, but go with me because it's accurate. When my grandfather was alive, he used to collect cans, okay? And so like we go out and he couldn't just collect them, he collected cans, man. We collected cans.
Right.
So he would literally, these are the days like you go up and down your blocks and you see if you found pop cans and stuff and you put them in the garbage bags or whatever. So we would bring the garbage bags home. Granddaddy, we done. It's, you know, the bag is full. You know what that man would do? He would take the cans out, stomp it, crush them down to about this small. And so now, guess what? The can that was this big, by the time he finished crushing it, now you got more than half a bag worth of capacity. You thought you were to capacity, but there's like, and that's kind of how God does us. Like every time you think you're to capacity, every time you think you don't have anything left, there is no more, then it's like, well, you know what? All of the stuff that was taking your capacity, I'm gonna figure out a way to whether I make it be diminished or, you know, eliminated. Now, poof, do what I told you to do. No more
Yep.
excuses.
That is actually the best. I want to give you special thanks for that because now I have a way of understanding how all that felt. Spring was rough.
Yeah.
And now I understand what God was doing. I want to thank you particularly for that analogy because that was what that was like. And it was not cute. And I imagine it wouldn't have been fun if your grandfather sent you back out talking about the thing isn't full, go back. What you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
basically what happened. That's
Yeah.
basically what happened. So I appreciate that analogy. That really gives me some good perspective and some wisdom.
Absolutely. You are so welcome. Now, with this book that we're talking about, for so many people, because a lot of people are afraid, like legit afraid to talk about cryptocurrency. So, like, tell us, like, what got you into cryptocurrency? What made you think, you know what, this is something that I need to be involved with?
This story begins pretty much where it is now. I saw a video on YouTube about what is Bitcoin anyway. I begun to hear about it, but again, go 2 years back from where I started, and it was at the peak, and
Hmm.
everybody was talking about it. And if you know anything about investing, I have some background in stocks. You know, it's too late to get in at that time,
Hmm.
but it seemed that it would be something that might come back. So I said, Lord, I'm not good at coding. I watched this video 5, 6 times just to try
Hmm.
to understand it, but it wasn't quite clicking. I said, Lord, give me a way into this that I can understand. Well, at that time, Hive's predecessor chain
Hmm.
was running, and what it was doing was advertising for writers.
Mm.
So I said, oh, okay, Lord, we're going to try this. I'm scared because, I've heard Bitcoin will do stuff like drop $5,000 in value overnight and all this. And I
Wow.
have seen that happen, y'all.
Yeah.
I've actually seen Bitcoin do that live. But I asked you for this. And because I asked you for this, now it's 2019, not knowing to me, this market has now been dropping for 2 years. So if you get in then, all you're going to see is everything you're doing just going down. But
Mm,
because I came in on that blockchain, even though the value of what I was doing was going down, I'm prolific enough of a writer to be like, okay, it's not worth as much today. But if I keep doing this every day, I'm still going to have enough to go. So I asked the Lord to show me a way. And even in the darkest moments, and there were some very dark moments, and Steam and Hive split, and I had to make a decision about which way I was going to go on the two chains. Because I asked the Lord for that, I kept saying, okay, as scared as I am and as scary as this is dropped in value 75% since I came in here.
wow.
That's what crypto does. If you get in at the top, it goes down 75 to 90% across the market is what it does. And
Mm,
this is why it's so scary. Because if you don't understand the cycle, and I need to just say this, just like in the financial crisis, when people began to push crypto to people who look like you and me,
mhm,
they pushed it to us so that they could sell and get out, and we could then take the brunt and then deal with it. The financial crisis, 63% of the people that lost their homes were Black women and their children.
wow.
So in crypto, every 4 years, there's a big book called the government, the U.S. government put out a big study on the financial crisis, this big. I'm glad I read it, but I wish I never had. That's a nightmare inducing book. But
Mhm,
I realized, okay, this is what's going on. So, but I kept saying, because it's now 2019, late 2019, okay, Lord, you brought me in here. So even though I'm scared to death, I'm going to stay. Then 2020 hit.
mhm,
And because the crypto cycle turns over, then it started going back up again. But if I'm just, like I said, give glory to God. If I had not known He would have brought me in there, I would have run scared like everybody else.
mhm,
Because when you have something that's worth 53 cents today, and you're doing everything you can to earn from your work, but you're
mm,
just watching it just do this.
mhm,
Yeah, any human being would be scared. And then you hear those stories and then you get scared. But nobody tells you it's because it's a 2 year up and 2 year down cycle. And if
mm,
you get it on the wrong end when the news comes out, you're going to be terrified. It is terrifying.
mhm.
So that's
Okay.
why I'm putting this book out now at the end of the down cycle so we can learn and be ready.
Gotcha, gotcha. And see, and that's what I was gonna bring out too, because for you, it was important to get this book out during a particular time period because of the things that you said. And so, like, what would you tell? So, if people are reading this book, because you gotta tell us when it's coming out. If when they get this book, tell us like when is the ideal time for them to read it, to act on it, and like when you're saying act on it, what that looks like.
Okay, the ideal time to read this book is right now. I have actually in the book have broken up since it's a 2 year cycle approximately. The reason that that book came out yesterday, October the 30th, is because that is 2 years. Autumn of 2023 is 2 years from the projected end of the next bull run. The date actually that I have projections on is October the 30th, 2025. So I want to give people 2 full years. So if you read this book in the autumn of this year into the winter, that gives you 6 months to just kind of figure out what's going on and to really explore the information that's in the book, to use the links that are there, to choose to sign up for the newsletter, to be part of the exclusive YouTube playlist so you can learn. That's the main thing. Because the more foundation you have, then you don't have to be afraid. Now you
Yeah.
know how. You don't have to bump your head like I did
Yeah.
for 9, 10 months. Um, that's the main thing. Now, spring, the bull run's actually supposed to start, but still, no one's really going to be paying attention. So that really gives you about a year to kind
Mm,
of figure out what you're going to do and kind of get yourself together. The other advantage of starting early is taxes. In the United States, most of the English speaking world have confirmed this as if you hold any asset for, now talk to your tax advisor and check this out because there's going to be changes coming next year. There's long-term capital gains versus short-term capital gains. One of the things you don't want to get into is double taxation. If
mm,
you buy Bitcoin and it's at 35,000 and some change today, and then you sell it because it goes up to 40,000. Not only do you have to pay tax on the income that you made on the profit, but you also have to pay short-term capital gains tax. You get
Mm.
hit twice
Yeah.
on the same asset. So the other advantage of starting in, let's say, 2024 to sell in 2025 is that you keep track of the day. If you buy something today on October 31st, 2023, and you sell it after November 1st, 2024, you only pay income tax because you held it for a year and a day. So that's
Wow.
the other advantage to why you want to start early. If you know that the crypto bull run is going to end in the autumn of 2025, what you have to kind of think about is, oh, so if I go ahead and get my life together and learn about this and make some conservative investments and get out of here, I got about 15 months. And
Mm-hmm.
that way I get taxed once. Because ain't nothing gonna make you madder on top side of this earth
Come on. Come on.
than double taxation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is not fun. It's not, like I said, bump my head, been there. Not fun, not cute. Sitting up there wondering why you don't have a return because you got hit twice. You don't want that. So that's the other advantage to starting early. Number one, you have time to learn. But number two, you have time to do tax planning. And of course, like I said before, I'm going to say it again, talk to a financial advisor. Because
Yeah.
I'm not a financial advisor. I just know stuff because I bumped my head. That's it. I've just bumped my head for 4 years. So you don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so, you know what? And that is so awesome, Deann. Not that you bumped your head that many times, but the fact that you not only, it's not even just about the fact that you learned from your mistake, but that you would be willing to share with us. Because I say all the time, when we go through obstacles, hardships, trials, whatever you want to call them in life, it's not just so that we can go through them and get through them. It's so that we would be able to come back and help somebody else to get through the same thing. And so the fact that you are putting this information out in the book, and like you just said, hey, you guys got 2 years, take 6 months to just educate yourself. So I'm not telling you what to do. Like, I'm not a tax advisor, I'm not a financial advisor. However, I have real world experience because this is what I did. And most of us, that's how we learn. Most people are not going to go to school to get the degree, but they will sit and they will learn from somebody who did get the degree. And so, for all intents and purposes, as it pertains to crypto, to Bitcoin, this is what you spent the last few years of your life interacting with. So you know a thing or two about a thing or two, as they would say, right? And so I personally want to say thank you for taking the
You're
time
welcome.
because, see, I just recently, probably in the last 2 3 years, started getting involved with investing. And so it's like I kind of know a little bit, but I also want to say this: there's kind of difference between regular investing and
Oh yeah.
cryptocurrency. It's two
We
totally different worlds. So why don't you
yeah.
speak to that?
Yeah. We need to talk about that actually. Because people don't realize. Okay, so I was thinking about this morning. And I didn't know you were gonna ask that question, but this is why the Lord must have just tickled my head on this. Every investment class has its own cycles, has its own rhythms. For example, if you sell candy, today is the first local peak in quarter 4. Today, depending on where you are in the world, is Halloween or Samhain or Reformation Day in Germany for Protestants who are serious about that. But around the world, if you sell candy, this is a local peak for you. However, tomorrow, all that candy goes on sale because it's not wrapped right for Christmas. And then there's another local peak. So if you were to invest in Hershey's or Mars or any of those, you need to understand, okay, this is the cycle. It's a year cycle when in Easter. So you got a kind of a 6 month cycle going on. There's peak one, peak two, peak three is Valentine's Day, peak four is Easter. And after that, candy sales go down just because in the northern hemisphere in the summertime you trying to ship candy. I don't think we're gonna do that. It's gonna melt. So that's an easy thing to understand based on Halloween. I literally have people who I buy chocolate from time to time talk about, if you don't buy it in a whole pack, we can't guarantee it's gonna arrive.
Wow. Wow.
So summer's not a good time for chocolate sales for that reason in terms of the volume.
Hmm.
And then chocolate doesn't keep well over a year. The quality is not as good because it's food. You don't keep food for a year.
Hmm.
Okay, so I take that easy example because almost everybody that's around kids and has kids has
Yeah.
contributed to Hershey's and Mars' bottom line. If you buy their stock in June, you are making a mistake. Okay? So
Mhm.
now let's look at crypto. Crypto has a 4-year cycle. And if you buy crypto at the top of a cycle, 2017, 2021, and then later 2025 and 2029. You are making a mistake because the crypto market is based on what's called the Bitcoin halving event. To make this, I explain this in the book, but I mean, it doesn't get uncomplicated. You just see it enough times and you think about it, it starts making sense. Every 4 years, Bitcoin's algorithm changes. So there's less Bitcoin available, fresh Bitcoin available to ever come into existence than there was before, because there's only ever going to be 21 million of them. They are limited in supply. So every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin available in the future drops by half. That causes what's called, and this is in the glossary of the book, that causes what's called a supply shock. When people realize, okay, time's running out, all
Mhm.
these institutions and people are buying up Bitcoin and holding it. So I gotta go. And
Mhm.
that's what kicks off the bull run. Because then folks come into, oh, but Bitcoin is expensive. But then there's this one over here. Maybe I'll buy some Ethereum. But Ethereum is getting expensive. So then maybe I'll buy, and the money just kind of rolls down really into the top 20, with some exceptions into the top 200 because Hive is up in that area. There's some very good coins in the top 200. But that's what causes it. So if you don't know that, what you're going to do is you're going to buy Bitcoin when it hits the news. But Bitcoin's not going to hit the news until the run's about half done.
That's good.
It's the same way that if you buy candy stock today, that's not too bad because Christmas is coming and then Valentine's Day and then Easter. But if you buy candy stock because of all the candy that's sold at Easter, you're about to get hurt. It's the same thing.
Mhm.
People who follow investment news may get it early enough to catch some local peaks after, let's say, April of next year. But
Mhm.
most people come into retail by the time all the money is made, and people like me are like, oh, I need to get out anyway. You want this? But see,
Mhm.
the Lord didn't bring me in anything take candy from babies and also from people that do not know.
Mhm.
So I will not be selling any Hershey stock to y'all in June because that's not the right time for you to buy it. And I'm letting you know now, this is the time period in which people are still running from the market scared to learn. Don't invest in anything you don't understand. Learn and see if this is for you. And this is early enough for you to be able to make some decisions, get some understanding.
Now I got a question because again, you're educating me because I know I have a understanding in terms of just theoretically on what Bitcoin is, right? On what
Okay?
Ethereum is. I've heard about it. But when you're saying that the years kind of overlap, you're saying every 4 years. To me, these are also election years. Does that have anything to do with the cycles of how the rise and fall, so to speak?
Possibly. We're going to go slightly theoretical because my friend in Germany who's involved with this sent me a very interesting news article. What we know, just from the United States perspective, is that there was a gentleman who went by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. And what we theorized, there was a man by the similar name who was the United States State Department who was working on things about coded money at around the same time. But
Mhm.
what really seems to have kicked this off, according to his own explanation, was the financial crisis, which also reached its peak in 2008, just as the election was going on. So that may be something of a coincidence more than anything else. But what Mr. Nakamoto, him or groups of people who were around, because like I said, I can't put that out with authority yet because I still have to try to catch up. My
Mhm.
German is trying to come back, but it's not all the way back yet. So he looked at the fact that what both President Bush, but he was about to leave office, and whoever the next president was going to be as he entered, he knew what they were going to do. He knew that they were going to bail the banks out, which is kind of what suggests he was already in government. That's kind of what suggests that the banks were going to collapse, but that what would happen was the government would bail the banks out, but they would also be printing money, and that would lead to inflation. So the problem that you have was what ends up happening is Main Street, the citizens, always end up paying with devalued money for whatever large institutions were doing. So he decided to create a coded electronic hard money that is whose value comes from the work done to decode the cryptographic hash. Let me make that simple for you. A big code and decode it and then have the work validated, and that became Bitcoin. Now I do address this in the book, and let me say this. Well, real money actually isn't electronic. Really? Okay, so you pull out your credit card every day and don't think about it.
Right. What is that called?
Sometimes you pull out Venmo, Zelle,
Cash
Cash
out.
App, and
Mm-hmm.
so okay, all of your money is electronic, and it's a conversation for another day. But then we have these central bank controlled digital currencies where you
Mm-hmm.
may not have cash by 2030. All of your money is already electronic.
That.
However, Bitcoin cannot be inflated beyond 21 million units. And so, what Mr. Nakamoto was attempting to do was create the world's first hard money. It would hold its value forever because it cannot be artificially inflated. And that is how Main Street has money that does not suffer because big institutions do this and that and then get the government to print more money, which then devalues the money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was the point of Bitcoin.
Okay. Okay. This is so okay. So everybody that's tuning in, like, I don't know if y'all like me. I am like enjoying this conversation because it's helping me to understand things a little bit more. Because one of the questions that I was going to ask was why is it limited in value? Because to me, or not value, but how much you can get. Because it's like if only X amount exists, then what happened? Matter of fact, I asked this: if only X amount, you said 21 billion, right?
21 million.
Million.
21
So
million.
that's the only amount that exists. What happens once that 21 million is exhausted?
Okay, so this is why there's a supply shock every 4 years.
Okay.
No one actually knows the answer to that because for the first time in history, okay, so imagine a situation where what are we going to do when there's no more gold available to be mined? But
Mm-hmm.
the earth is so vast that even though, well, I'll give you another example. What happens when there's no more oil wells and there's no more oil, what we call peak energy, and it starts to go back down again?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we kind of know that's going to be a disaster
Mm-hmm.
unless we make certain preparations to run on solar and electric and so forth and so on. But
Mm-hmm.
even so, to our minds, that's theoretical because
Yeah,
we cannot imagine a
it's
world without.
unfathomable. Right.
We can't think
Right.
about it. So, in the same way that that's theoretical, understand that no one knows for absolute certain, although with the way the halving events are set up, it's going to be a while. And because of the cyclic nature of people selling and buying Bitcoin for profit, that doesn't necessarily mean it's all going to be locked up because someone's always going to want to get some whatever. Bitcoin is
That's true.
available around the world. Someone's going to always turn it in until Bitcoin becomes a legally approved tender for spending things. There's always going to be someone who wants to sell some. However, I should mention here that you know how the United States dollar is divisible into 100 parts.
Mm-hmm.
Each Bitcoin is divisible into 100 million parts called Satoshis.
Wow.
There's enough divisions of Bitcoin, so it's
Yes.
theoretically possible that everyone can have a little piece of it. And probably trading in Satoshis, if not whole Bitcoins, will continue to go on because, like I said, someone's going to need to pay a bill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be available. But at some point, we will have peak Bitcoin, meaning that there's no more fresh Bitcoin available to be mined. And
Mm-hmm.
just like no one completely knows what happens at that point, like what happens to the crypto cycle when there's no halving event to kick it off?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. That date is somewhere out there. I can't remember right now, but it's somewhere out there in the 2030s, 40s, maybe even a little bit further out. But like I said, we're going to have other things like peak oil, and we're going to have other things to be concerned with before that happens.
Mm-hmm. That is something else. Like, so let me ask you this, and we're not gonna give away the whole book, y'all. Okay, so y'all gotta go and get this book, and I'm gonna have you talk about where and how after this
Okay.
question. So my question then becomes like, you know how you were saying sometimes people buy it at the wrong time, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
buy it's already down there, scared, whatever. They buy at the wrong time. Would your suggestion, I know that you're not a tax advisor, you made that clear. We're gonna put the disclaimer out there again. But just say if it was you yourself, if you got in and you saw it was steadily going down, at that point, Are you one? Because some people say, hey, that's the ideal over in the regular stock market. That's the ideal time to buy is when everybody else is running, everybody else is selling, everybody else is screaming. That's the ideal time to buy. Or would you say, you know what, let me wait until this next premier time to get it?
As someone who is not a financial advisor, but has been around, I've been investing since I was about 22, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you got to understand the timing of every asset.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's important. The thing about Bitcoin and the crypto market, though, which is nice but also terrifying, the top ends up being pretty well defined, and then you can kind of sit there for a year. In the winter of 2026, if the winter of 26 is anything like the winter of 22, here's what's going to happen. There are some coins that are a little bit behind Bitcoin and coming up, so there'll be a couple of them that peak out late. That does happen. And everybody then will spend the next 3 months being in denial about the top having been reached. But if you go do your charting, you already begin to see it. There's persistent downtrend, but there's so much hype, people can't hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you happen to, this is also why I'm not going to be promoting this book as heavily after a certain date, because I know that if you go in there, then you're going to get hurt. This is also why even on my YouTube channel, my crypto journey, the playlist, I didn't start that when I had the idea for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is, you know, the cycle is about 4 years. It tops out. We know the number is probably going to be 2025 according to the charts. It may go a little bit further. But if you should happen to see this video in 2026, wait until 2027. And the way that you know that you're about done is I told you that 70 to 99% of the value is going to come out of most of the assets. Now, Bitcoin holds up better than others. Bitcoin only went down to 15-ish thousand from a top of 69, 70-ish thousand. That's not too bad. There are other coins that went from approximately $3 down to about 10 cents. So
Mm-hmm.
you do math on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be anywhere around. I'm just saying psychologically, as someone who's now seen this happen twice,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna find out if you save for real, real quick. Do you know Jesus?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, and I know there's people of different religions out there, you're gonna find out if whatever you believe is real quick. You may have to come to Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
because when you come in at the wrong time and you bought the thing at $3 and you get to sit there for a year and watch this thing absolutely crater,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna find out what you believe in, and
Mm-hmm.
what you believe in is
Mm-hmm.
real quick. And so don't do it when things start to drop off. Wait, it's a 4 year cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 2 years up. So 2024 will be generally up, but then, stuff will really start happening, charting out the cycle as people find out about it for 2025. There's going to be some institutional investing, but they want to make their money too. So about 2025, about the spring, things are just going to be, oh my gosh, it's the greatest thing ever. And
Yeah.
that's when you don't know.
You don't want it when once everybody
Yeah,
else has figured it out.
yeah, you don't want to make big investments starting then, but you can still do, because again, two things. 2025, spring of 2025, if spring of 2025 is anything like spring of 2021, the spirit literally told me, okay, you're done. Buy
Mm-hmm.
no more. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. Because I didn't have any idea what was gonna happen next. But he did. Um, there was one more little pump going into the autumn, and that was the end. It was that close to the end. We were 6 months to the end. And I had no way of knowing because I just didn't understand how it worked then.
Mm-hmm.
So when you do see it beginning to drop, it really depends on where you are. If there's going to be huge drops even on your way up in 2024, 2025. We don't know what the election is going to do. For just give you a side example, Republican candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a big crypto man. So if somehow he was able to get the Republican nomination, the acting Speaker of the House, Mr. Patrick McHenry, was on the Financial Services Committee and is trying to get good crypto legislation. So if they had stayed, if RFK won and Patrick McHenry had stayed where he was,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that by itself, just because the political landscape would suddenly be good, would be excellent for crypto. But we have no idea who's going to win the next election. We don't know who's going to be nominated. We think we know who the Democrat's going to be, but
Mm-hmm.
President Biden is 80 plus. So we honestly don't even know that. We can't predict that. We can't predict what's going to happen in the economy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see it drop on the 2024, 2025 ish before spring, okay, buy the dip. Is generally the advice you're going to get. After the summer of 2025, if you see things dropping, put a pin there for 2027. Because anything after, let's say, September of 2025, uh,
Yeah,
see a
gotcha.
drop there, just wait.
Mm-hmm.
That thing that you want to buy now will be on sale at between 70 and 90% off. You talk about a clearance sale, wait a year. Wait a
Wow.
year.
Wow. That's incredible because I think about because we're talking about we're in holiday season. And I remember when I used to work in retail, and what they would tell you is like it's all the perception, right? Because a lot of times what happens is you think that you're getting something. Hello, Miss Rochelle. You think that you're getting something that's 50 or 60% off when the reality is that they've actually raised it by like 40% to then
Mm-hmm.
discount it by 50%.
Yep.
So you're actually only getting a 10% discount. And
Yep.
so
Markup.
the perception is everything. So yeah.
Yes. And one of the reasons that it's important to get knowledge early. Okay, let me explain to you the other side of how this works and why I put out this book on October the 30th, 2023. Because here's the deal. If the thing is 70 to 90% down, if it goes back up to it, if it does nothing else but go back up to where it was before, not beyond, it'll also
Mm-hmm.
be 70 to 90% up.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how that works? All
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin has to do is get back to 69,000. And anybody that bought it at 15,000 and wasn't in it before is going to be good. What is that? 4.5 times up?
Yeah.
Almost
Yeah.
five. Okay, so just for an example. But see, here's what happens in the news. And I used to be a professional journalist, so I see how news plays with people's heads all the time.
Yep.
You're not going to hear about it in the news till Bitcoin hits $71,000.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
have already missed all of the
Mm-hmm.
run between 15 and 71. Now, basic mathematics, it's like I tell people, you can understand technical investing charts, like in stocks, bonds, or any of it. Ever since you've been able to hold a crayon, you've been able to follow a line on a page. It's not as complicated as you think it is. Well, let's talk about basic math. If you hear about Bitcoin at 71,000 and people talk, oh, it's going to go to 100,000, it's going to go to 150,000. That's all well and good. How many multiples are there between 15,000 and 71,000 compared to how many multiples are there between 71,000 and 150,000?
That's good, Deann. Wait, let me pause you there because the mathematician in me did that quick math. Because, like you just said, so like you're doing a lot of jumping. It's almost five times because, again, how we get next, y'all, is because 15 times five is 75. So if she get to 71, then that means it's almost five times the amount. Whereas if you're going from just say 71, and even if you do 150, you're just barely doing a little over two, a little bit over
Yep.
two times the yeah.
And this is what happens to retail all day long. Let me tell you the other thing that happens. Everybody doesn't love you. See, like I said, the Spirit of God would not let me sit on this information. But if I had wanted to, and if I wasn't saved, if I belonged to the devil, this is what people like me do to you all day long. I'm already positioned, right?
Yeah.
So all I do is sit here and wait. I just live modestly. I don't have a Lamborghini in the garage because that's just not the lifestyle I'm living.
Mhm.
But I just sit here and wait. I I have my stock bought stuff in the summer of 2023. So
Mhm.
I just sit here and wait on everybody else to find it. Now,
Mhm.
some of those younger coins, and I don't recommend those to new people, but
Mhm.
some of the younger coins, which don't start as low, some of them suckers can go up 125 times
Wow.
if you catch them really early. But I
Mm.
can't recommend those to people because you need to have a certain amount of either head bumping or just straight up education because they also can go that other way real
Mm.
quick.
Mhm.
But let's just take Bitcoin and Ethereum and Hive, the three that I am invested in and talk about in the book because of their stability, because of their solidity as projects. What people also do to you in the market, experienced investors, and even people with more experience than me, because the spirit stopped me, but it would have been me too.
Mhm.
We already know y'all coming. We already know retail is coming eventually, and they're going to come when almost everything's done. So we sit back here, we get position, and we sit back here, look cute, and wait.
Mhm.
And let me tell you where people also wait, and this is what you do not want to do. People wait around numbers with big zeros psychologically. If a younger coin is going to get to $1, an investor like me will sell you it at 95 cents
Mhm.
because you're going to buy this thinking it's going to a dollar. This actually happened. If I bought it at 7 cents and I sell it at 95 cents, and
Mhm.
you buy it at 95 cents, waiting for it to go to a dollar or $2, who won?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But you only sold it 95 cents. It went to 250. That's correct. Mine
Right.
went up 14 times.
Exactly.
Yours barely made it up 2.5. So
Exactly.
and that's what people do. They're called market makers.
Mhm.
They know that people get really excited around, oh, Bitcoin made 50,000. Oh, Bitcoin made 60,000. Oh, is Bitcoin gonna make 70,000? Everybody knows what's going on. It's like, yeah, y'all come on in here. Because I'm gonna just leave at 68,
Yeah.
and then y'all
You
can
get it.
ride that other
Exactly.
2,000 up,
Exactly.
and y'all can ride to 100,000 or even 200,000. I
Mhm.
don't care. I've had my Bitcoin since it was 9,000. I don't care.
Yeah.
And of course, there are even more experienced investors than I am that have enough Bitcoin. So if they want the price to be X on a particular day to get you in there, they can make that happen. I have watched Bitcoin print $10,000 drops in 10 minutes. Big market makers who have a lot of it, they can make stuff happen. So again, crypto is scary, and then crypto is not well regulated. And this is also something I should probably mention as well. Crypto is not well regulated. The United States is really struggling with this because there seems to be a tension between, oh, they're going to be able to have access to money that isn't completely controlled by us and it sells off around the world. We don't want them to have that. But then at the same time, we want the money too because we want the taxes. So regulation has not yet been firmed up. And that's what makes crypto especially dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. In stocks and bonds and older types of securities, as they're called, there are regulations on what people can do to you. Now, a big enough company can figure out how to do loopholes, of course. But in crypto, if you don't know what you're doing, well, that's just too bad. You just got. And it is what it is. Fine. So you really have to be. I've watched Elon Musk, billionaire Elon Musk, owner of X, formerly called Twitter. I have literally watched charts that man moved in different currencies just because of things that he said. I have watched him, a single billionaire, be able to do that. The market manipulation in crypto can get to be extreme. And like I said, if you're on a wrong, this can happen during an upcycle, which means you have time to recover. But then if you let that happen, I mean, some of you probably heard about this gentleman named Sam Bankman-Fried, who lost about $200 billion worth of people's stuff because the market prices had started to collapse and he couldn't cover his bases. See, that's what happens on the other side of all the foolery. A lot of people get away with a lot of stuff going up. And that's why you want to know when to get out. Because going down, Uncle Sam isn't gonna do nothing but come collect taxes. That's it.
Listen. Listen. And let me just say this. First of all, let me thank you for taking the time to come to explain this, because I think a lot of people may not have been aware. Because again, you hear, I mean, and it's not to say that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is not being spoken of, but what most people are more familiar with is just your stock market talk, right? So New York Stock Exchange, Nasdaq, Dow Jones, S&P, all of that. And so but the thing about it is, because you know that it's going to be a thing, then it makes sense to get in or to try to figure it out sooner rather than later. Because to your point, paper money is going to be extinct after a while. It's already starting to become extinct. And for people who don't believe that, I mean, think about yourself. How many times are you walking around with actual cash in your wallet as opposed to your debit card? So even if you're not doing credit cards, even if you're not invested in the stock market, as you said, most people now are running off of Zelle, PayPal, and PayPal is kind of starting to leave too, but it's still here.
Yes.
But Zelle, Cash App, Venmo. Like every time there becomes another app. So technically, I don't even have to physically possess the money, it's the value. So that's really all that Bitcoin, all that investment is giving you other ways to you, electronic ways that are going to become more relevant for doing business. That's just what it is, you know. And so I want to thank you for explaining it. And for those who want more information, I want them to go and buy the book. And so why don't you take the time now to tell them again, name of the book, how they can access it, and then as well as how they can contact you, just in case they may want to, you know, get in touch with you. Or I know you said something about your YouTube channel. So talk about all of that at this time.
Okay, so for those of you who are interested in getting this book, because I've done the best I can to give you as much free value as possible, but it took me 4 years. There's a lot to learn still. The
Mhm.
name of the book is Seizing the Crypto Bull Run for Financial Freedom. And it is actually available until Saturday for free. I
Wow.
want you to have
Wow.
this. Now, after Saturday, the barrier for entry is still only $4.99. It'll be the best $5 that you ever spent.
Mhm.
Invest in you first. I have a YouTube channel. It's just YouTube did one of these flips in. I'm Deeann Mathews everywhere.
Mhm.
This is who I am everywhere. And I have a playlist called My Crypto Journey, and that's probably the best where I answer a lot of questions about this. I'm also on Facebook, and Miss Tennille Jackson is my agent. So if you really need to talk to me,
I'm
talk
here.
talk to my agent. Um, One of the things, and it's not something I covered in the book because I don't want you to be any more scared than what you want than you need to be. One of the things that you have to really do is think about having the right people. We're gonna go back to APS. You really need to have the right support. You really need to have people around you that you can trust, and you need to be thoughtful about not letting everybody have public access to you at all times. So this is one of the advantages of having a wonderful agent and being with APS. Because if you really need to get to me, if Tennille Jackson screens and says you cool, then we have a conversation.
That
That's
part.
cool, and that's one of the advantages. The way you, the I'm it's hard for me to stop giving stuff away free. The way you set up your life as an investor is different than the way you set up your life as someone who has a 9 to 5. Because
Mhm.
owning assets and working with assets, it doesn't make you better than anyone else, but you have to plan your life differently. And so for me, one of the personal assets that I have is a relationship with
Mhm.
someone that I can say, okay, if Miss Jackson thinks you're cool for us to talk to, look, we'll find Zoom, we'll set it up. You know, if
Mhm.
any of the APS members want to come on and talk about this and have me walk stuff through, because we already been pre-vetted,
Yeah.
cool, we set it up. So that's for free, just like the book. Season the Crypto Bull Run. And I think I got a link to drop to you, although I'm not.
Oh, I put it on there. I put it
Okay.
on there so that way they can go to Amazon and they can get that.
Now, when you purchase the book, you'll also find out there's an exclusive playlist for readers of the book that you'll get the access to in uh, chapter, the epilogue for how you get on high. If you don't have money to buy crypto, you can also earn it.
Mhm.
That's epilogue number 10. And
Mhm.
also, there is an exclusive playlist that you'll find out there, but also there's a newsletter where I break down different crypto news and educational things, and you'll find that in chapter 9. And that's also another way to interact. And if you decide you want to continue your learning and you feel confident and have some security that I'm not out here to beat you,
Mhm.
then that's ways that we can communicate every week and the newsletter is every 2 weeks. The playlist is basically what questions do you have? If you come on there and leave a comment about what question that you have, I'll probably just do a video because there's a lot to learn. But
Mhm.
those are ways that you can get access to me in a way that is comfortable for both of us right now. And like I said, if you're on Facebook and you see this and you want to talk to me, wait, my right, your left. If Mr. Neil Jackson's cool with you, I'm cool with you. Okay, I'm
Wow.
cool. But I'm
Wow.
also here on Facebook, and you can send me a friend request, and I will go check out your page because it's another conversation. But you don't get to do this doing foolery. I can't,
Li-
like I said in the book, I can't hold your hand.
Listen.
So and that's no offense to anyone, but y'all know how these internet streets be.
Yeah. Yeah, you are so right about that. Like, and you have to at least be willing to meet me halfway. That's why I tell people all the time, help me help you.
Yes, amen, exactly.
So in either case, Deann, thank you so much. I
You're
cannot believe
welcome.
we've already gone through an entire hour. Just the,
I know that was quick.
that was a quick hour, but I just want to thank you so much for coming on, for sharing your knowledge, sharing yourself as being a resource. You guys, the link is in the chat. So whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, you have access to this link. And as she said, get this book now. If you get it now, you have access 6 months to start learning what it is that you need to learn. So that way you have time to actually get in and you can profit from this, and you don't have to be looking like, oh, I woulda, coulda, shoulda. Don't have to be a victim of that, but you can actually participate in it. So thank you so much, Deann. I'm going to put you back in the green room, and I'm going to wrap up the show. So to everybody, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Everyone who tuned in live, those of you who are going to tune in on the replay, I really want to say thank you. Also, not just for this show, but for 10 years. For 10 years, APS has had the pleasure of helping authors, artists, and entrepreneurs all across the country. And as it pertains to our awards gala all across the world, we have welcomed entries from Australia, from the United Kingdom. Like, we are truly international, not just by name, but also by action. And so if you are an artist, an entrepreneur, and you want to know more about what it actually means to walk in that calling, connect with APS. If you are tired of struggling alone, you're looking for a community of individuals who can understand what you're going through and are willing to help you get to the next level, connect with APS. If you are wanting to hone your craft, maybe you are a writer and you want to go to that next level, but you don't know how, we have the Writer Society for you. Maybe you have written a book, but you need a publisher. We got a publishing in print. Maybe you just want that community of authors, or you want exposure so you can participate in tour dates. Join our network. Trust me, I am going to be reaching out to you all. We're going to take it to a whole new level, a whole nother level. But perhaps you're not an entrepreneur, or maybe you are, you just don't want to get involved with APS, but you love what we are doing. Feel free to show your support. Again, for this month of our 10 years, I have been asking people to go to Cash App, to go to Zelle, and give us $10 for 10 years, right? It's not something I do all the time. We don't have fundraisers like that, but I do understand that sometimes when you bless other people, you want to allow other people to be a blessing to you. And so if that is you, then the Cash App is on the screen. You can Cash App $APS, the letter N, international. And then in terms of Zelle, it's the same, APS international at gmail.com. But I want to thank you all so much for allowing us to serve you. And I want to end this on a more somber note. Those of you, if you know me, I have put it out there. Someone who is near and dear to the APS family has passed away. And so I want to take this remaining minute to just pay homage to her. Her name is Mary Hale. For those of you who knew her, you know that she was a sweetheart. You know she was everything that APS embodied, everything that I'm glad to be a woman embodied. And she is definitely going to be greatly missed. Everything that she brought to a room, her love, her light, her wisdom, her smile, it will definitely be missed. And so I am going to end this show in loving memory of Mary Hale. Days of old, things of the past, memories of you, the of your words, things you used to say. All I have to remember is our yesterdays I'm remembering. Remember.